So as I promised in the video that I just got finished filming, I would like to do a Outlander review book talk thing. So Outlander by Diana Gabaldon is the first book in, I think at this point it's like an 8-book series, and that she's planning on writing more. She's prolific. There's lots of books in the series. I, at this point, have only read the first book. I'm kind of in awe that she's stretched the story out for 8 books, because I was reading the blurb for the second book and it jumps in time quite a piece. Jumps in time. So anyway, I heard about this series earlier this year when I heard that they were making a TV show that is historical fiction, set in Scotland, and has time travel. How can you not be intrigued by those 3 things? I was greatly intrigued. So I picked this up at a used bookstore earlier this summer, and I finally read it last month, and so pleased about how phenomenal this book is. I've watched the show now that I finished reading the book. I'm all caught up to the show at this point. I wasn't sure that I liked the show at first. I think it's growing on me more, but anyway, we're not talking about the show, we're talking about the book. Outlander follows Claire Randall, who is an Englishwoman living in 1945. The war has just ended and she is finally reunited with her husband. I don't remember what her husband's name is because it doesn't really matter what her husband's name is, but she is reunited with her husband and they're having a second honeymoon in Scotland. And while she is out looking at the beautiful Scottish foliage, she touches these stones and is sent back in time to 18th century Scotland, where she, 1, encounters the ancestor of her husband, who is not a nice man, and 2, encounters a group of Scottish clansmen who are a bit rough around the edges, but for the most part, a lot nicer men than Captain Randall is. So among these group of Scottish clansmen is Jamie, who has been injured, and Claire, with her awesome badass nurse skills, helps out Jamie and relocates his arm that's been dislocated. Jamie Fraser, let's just take a moment to talk about Jamie Fraser. He is beautiful and chivalrous and ginger and just oh so dreamy, oh so dreamy. Now Outlander's kind of a book that, what I see from the reviews on Goodreads, that you either love it or you hate it. I, for one, loved it. I was really surprised about how beautifully written it was. I was kind of expecting like a light, cheesily written, fast-paced historical fiction romance, which it is in a way, but in another way, it's so beautifully written. Every sentence that is crafted, it has a purpose, and she spends a lot of time discussing plants and this and that. But everything is so beautifully crafted that it's just such a joy to read through. And I was just surprised how well written it was for the type of like genre it is in. So I was immediately pleased and happy about how well written it was. I really, really love this novel. Loved it, but there are elements of it that kind of gave me pause while reading it. Outlander has 2 extremely strong characters. Claire and Jamie are both so strong and just so well built. Claire is resourceful and smart and just really, really excellent, but at the same time, she is a Gryffindor and she is stubborn and reckless at times. And she does things that I don't exactly agree with, and I think she should probably think things through more. And then Jamie, like I said earlier, is beautiful and chivalrous and just wonderful, but he's also a man living in 18th century Scotland, and women weren't exactly equal back in 18th century Scotland, so he's quite possessive and just, you know, you're my wife, I can do what I please with you, and you just have to deal with it. Which I didn't like reading, but if you think of the context of the time, you just kind of have to accept it. And he gives you the explanation why he's doing what he's doing, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I mean, I don't agree with this, but I see you were conditioned by your environment, so this is the way you're behaving. Still kind of all gave me pause, but that's what's really fantastic about it and really awful, because I love the characters, but they're also extremely flawed. And so I think that's fantastic. It's the best and the worst thing about that book. And Jamie has quite a dark, very sad past regarding the ancestor of Claire's husband. And things happen and unfold, and it's very exciting and horrific to read at times. So horrific. I was actually surprised how graphic and barbaric this whole world was. I wasn't expecting it to be so graphic, particularly near the beginning of the book, with the little boy who stole and how they treat children who steal, that whole scene was very, very uncomfortable to read, and the whole witch trial thing just kind of like filled me with rage, and that priest. But it's such a fantastic book to read, and I'm really looking forward to read more by her. And then quickly, while I have you here, I'm all caught up to the TV show. The last episode I watched was the episode where the Englishmen find Claire and ask if she's alright. The thing that I don't really like about the show, which is the thing I understand why they're doing it, is Claire's monologues. I find the show really talks down to you. Like, if you're an active viewer and you're watching it, like, it really talks down to you. Have flashbacks of her life with Frank, that's his name. I had to think about the show to remember his name. Frank. If you think about like, they show you the flashbacks with her and Frank, which I think the flashbacks are a little bit overused, but like, in some circumstances they work really well. But particularly the flashback where she's driving in the car with Frank and he's telling her about that area where the Englishmen hide and lay ambushes for the Scotsmen. And if you're paying attention, he says that once, and then when she's back in 18th century Scotland and she's traveling through with the Scottishmen, she remembers that. And if you're an active viewer, you should have remembered that as well. But it's very heavy-handed, and they go back and they show you the exact same clip. And I'm like, I'm not a passive viewer. I saw that, I remembered that. Granted, I'm a book viewer, and maybe they're thinking, oh, not everyone's a book viewer, so we need to be very heavy-handed in our explanation of this. But even if you're not a book viewer, like, if you're watching a TV show, you need to not be a passive viewer. But there are, I guess, passive television viewers, and I wish that they weren't being so heavy-handed. So that I don't really like. I feel like they overuse flashbacks, and they speak down to you, and it's irritating. The other thing that I don't like about the show is Claire's monologues, which I understand their purpose because she narrates the book, so she's narrating the show for us, but at the same time, that kind of like ties into the whole, it's talking down to us. You should show and not tell. So Claire tells us what she's feeling and what she's doing, and these are things that should be emoted and shown, not told. So that kind of irritates me about that. Claire is very pretty. The actress that they have playing her is gorgeous, and the actor that they have playing Jamie, oh wow, he's dreamy. He's a very good Jamie, and I very much like watching him on screen. And who's the other person I really liked? Oh, the guy that they have playing Jack Randall is fantastic. Jack and Frank are their names. He was not Titus. What's his name? Brutus. He was Brutus from the Rome, and he has a very English, snooty look about his face, so I think he's really well cast. Yeah, so I'm feeling like the show's getting better. I can't wait for 2 episodes and the wedding episode. I'm very much excited for that. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking, and you should read it before you watch it, or if you're already watching it, you should read it because the book is better.